Welcome to my channel. Super rare coins. Today is best top 3 coins. Please don't skip this video, so let's get it started. The 1958 halfpenny coin belongs to the long-running British pre-decimal coinage system, where £1 sterling was divided into 240 pence. The halfpenny, or 1/2d, was one of the smallest denominations of circulating currency in the United Kingdom and had been in use for centuries in various forms. The 1958 issue carries the portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, marking her early reign as she had ascended the throne in 1952 following the death of her father King George VI. On the obverse, front side, the coin features the youthful portrait of Queen Elizabeth II facing right, created by sculptor Mary Gillick. This was the first definitive portrait of the Queen to appear on British coins and is notable for its simple, elegant style. The Queen is shown wearing a laurel wreath, a classical symbol of victory and honor, rather than a crown, giving the design a timeless and approachable appearance. Surrounding the portrait is the Latin Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina F laughing face, which translates to Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen Defender of the Faith. This inscription links the coin to the long history of monarchy and faith in Britain. The reverse, backside, design of the 1958 halfpenny depicts a detailed Tudor ship, most commonly believed to be Sir Francis Drake's galleon, the Golden Hind. This ship design was introduced in 1937 under King George VI and continued throughout the early reign of Elizabeth II. The Golden Hind symbolizes England's age of exploration, maritime strength, and the country's imperial past. Above the ship is the inn, halfpenny, and below is the date, 1958. The design, created by Thomas Humphrey Paget, remained one of the most admired reverse designs in the pre-decimal series. In terms of technical details, the 1958 halfpenny was struck in bronze, an alloy of copper, tin, and zinc. The coin weighs approximately 5.67 grams, has a diameter of 25.5 millimeters, and a thickness of about 1.55 millimeters. The edge of the coin is plain, distinguishing it from larger denominations like the penny or shilling, which carried different edge treatments. Its relatively small size and light weight made it convenient for small, everyday transactions in the mid-20th century. The historical context of 1958 places this coin in post-war Britain during a period of economic recovery, modernization, and the early years of Elizabeth II's reign. Britain was transitioning from the austerity of the post-war era toward a new consumer culture. While inflation was gradually reducing the practical use of small denominations like the halfpenny, the coin remained an important part of commerce, especially for small purchases such as newspapers, matches, and bus fares. The symbolism of the coin is significant. The Queen's portrait represents the continuity of monarchy and the youthful promise of Elizabeth II's new reign. The laurel wreath she wears ties her image to classical ideals of wisdom and victory. On the reverse, the Golden Hind evokes national pride in exploration and naval power, recalling the daring voyages of the Elizabethan era and connecting Queen Elizabeth II's reign with that of her famous Tudor namesake, Queen Elizabeth I. Together, these elements symbolized both tradition and renewal. From a numismatic perspective, the 1958 halfpenny is a collectible coin, though not particularly rare, as millions were minted for circulation. In circulated condition, its value is modest, typically only a few pence or cents above its historic worth. However, in uncirculated or mint-state condition, the coin can command higher prices, generally in the range of £2 to £10 or $3 to $12, depending on luster, strike, and preservation. Proof versions of the halfpenny were not struck in 1958, making regular circulation strikes the primary type available to collectors. Error coins from 1958, such as off-center strikes or die cracks, are highly unusual and can significantly increase collector interest and value. Coins with particularly bright original red or red-brown luster are also prized by numismatists, as bronze coins typically darken or tone with age. The 1958 issue represents one of the many coins struck in the decade leading up to the decimalization of British currency in 1971. The halfpenny would continue to circulate until decimalization, after which it was replaced by the decimal half new penny, 1/2p. Thus, the 1958 coin reflects both continuity in British coinage traditions and the final decades of the pre-decimal system that had been in place for centuries. Next, the 1962 halfpenny coin is part of the British pre-decimal coinage system, where £1 sterling, £1, was equal to 240 pence, and the halfpenny represented 1/480th of a pound. By the time of its issue in 1962, this tiny denomination was already becoming less useful in daily commerce, yet it remained in circulation until decimalization in 1971. The coin is historically important because it reflects the early reign of Queen Elizabeth II, who had been on the throne for just a decade after succeeding her father King George VI in 1952. On the obverse, front side, the coin carries the first definitive portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by sculptor Mary Gillick. This portrait shows a young Elizabeth facing right adorned with a laurel wreath rather than a crown. The design was intended to project freshness, optimism, and continuity with Britain's classical traditions, especially as the Queen was still at the beginning of her reign. Around the portrait is the legend Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina F. Laughing Face, which expands to Elizabeth II by the grace of God, Queen Defender of the Faith. This traditional inscription connects the monarchy not only to divine authority but also to its historic role as protector of the Christian faith in Britain. The reverse, backside, of the coin features the iconic depiction of the Golden Hind, the galleon famously captained by Sir Francis Drake during his circumnavigation of the globe in the 16th century. The design created by Thomas Humphrey Paget shows the ship in full sail, with intricate rigging and details that convey a sense of movement and maritime power. Above the ship is the denomination inscription, halfpenny, while the date, 1962, appears below. The Golden Hind was first placed on the halfpenny in 1937 under King George VI, and it symbolized England's age of exploration, naval dominance, and its Elizabethan maritime heritage. In terms of technical specifications, the 1962 halfpenny was struck in bronze, a durable alloy of copper, tin, and zinc. It has a weight of approximately 5.67 grams, a diameter of 25.5 millimeters, and a plain edge. Its size made it slightly smaller than the contemporary one-penny coin, but still large enough to display the ship design in considerable detail. These coins were minted in large quantities for circulation, and their durability means many examples survive today in varying states of preservation. The historical context of 1962 Britain is equally important in understanding this coin. The early 1960s were a time of cultural and social transition in the United Kingdom as the nation was slowly moving away from the hardships of the post-war era and embracing new modern developments. The halfpenny, however, represented continuity and tradition, being one of the smallest denominations still actively used for everyday purchases, including small items like newspapers, matches, sweets, and public telephone calls. Its presence in circulation highlighted the lingering value of small money in a world that was quickly becoming more prosperous and consumer-driven. The symbolism of the coin is striking. The obverse, youthful portrait of the Queen expressed the hopes of a modern monarchy suited for a new era of television, globalization, and shifting cultural values. The laurel wreath, drawn from classical imagery, emphasized not only peace and victory but also dignity and refinement. On the reverse, the Golden Hind linked the new Elizabethan age to the first one, during the reign of Elizabeth I, when England rose to global power through exploration and seafaring prowess. The ship, frozen in motion, symbolized Britain's identity as an island nation that owed much of its history and prosperity to its mastery of the seas. From a numismatic perspective, the 1962 halfpenny is a common coin, as millions were struck for everyday circulation. As such, in well-worn condition, its value is typically very low, usually only a few pence or cents. However, examples in uncirculated or mint state condition are more desirable, particularly those with bright red or red-brown original mint luster that bronze coins often had when freshly struck. Collectors also value the coin as part of the broader pre-decimal series, particularly for assembling complete date runs of Elizabeth II's early halfpennies. The rarity and value factors of the 1962 halfpenny are modest. Because there was no official proof set containing the coin that year, only circulation strikes exist. Error coins, such as mis-strikes or die cracks, can be considerably more valuable and attract specialist interest. Otherwise, the coin's significance is more historical and cultural than financial, as it represents the twilight years of the halfpenny denomination before decimalization made it obsolete. In terms of legacy, the 1962 halfpenny is a representative piece of the long history of British bronze coinage stretching back to the Victorian era. It carried forward the Golden Hind reverse introduced under George VI, while also featuring the new monarch's portrait, thus bridging past and present. By the 1960s, inflation was gradually eroding the practical usefulness of such small denominations, and by 1971, with the adoption of decimal currency, the halfpenny was permanently withdrawn and replaced by the new decimal halfpenny, 1/2 p. Next, the 1967 halfpenny coin holds a very special place in British numismatic history, as it was the last year of issue for the pre-decimal halfpenny denomination before it was officially demonetized in 1969, just before the decimalization of 1971. By this time, the coin was already nearly useless in everyday commerce due to inflation, and it had largely lost its purchasing power. Yet the Royal Mint produced an enormous quantity of the 1967 issue, both to meet any final demand and to ensure that the denomination was adequately supplied until decimalization took effect. As a result, the 1967 halfpenny is one of the most common bronze coins of the Elizabethan pre-decimal era, but it carries historical weight because it marks the end of a series that began centuries earlier. On the obverse, front, of the coin is the first definitive portrait of Queen Elizabeth II designed by sculptor Mary Gillick. This design, introduced in 1953, shows the Queen facing to the right, wearing a classical laurel wreath instead of a crown, giving the portrait a youthful, fresh, and timeless appearance. The image was intentionally chosen to symbolize hope, renewal, and tradition at the start of her reign. Surrounding the portrait is the Latin legend, Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina F laughing face : which translates as, Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen Defender of the Faith. This inscription tied the monarchy to both divine legitimacy and the sovereign's role as head of the Church of England. The reverse, back, of the 1967 halfpenny features the iconic Golden Hind, the famous galleon captained by Sir Francis Drake, the Elizabethan explorer and privateer. This design was created by artist Thomas Humphrey Paget and had first been used on the halfpenny coin in 1937 during the reign of King George VI. The ship is shown in full sail, richly detailed with masts, rigging, and movement capturing the grandeur and daring spirit of Elizabethan seafaring. Above the ship is the denomination halfpenny, while the year of issue, 1967, is placed below. The design tied the coin to the Elizabethan Golden Age of exploration under Queen Elizabeth I, thereby linking the Second Elizabethan era to the first in imagery and symbolism. From a technical perspective, the 1967 halfpenny was struck in bronze, an alloy of copper, tin, and zinc. It weighed approximately 5.67 grams, had a diameter of 25.48 millimeters, and featured a plain edge. Its large round format gave plenty of space for the bold Golden Hind design, making it a visually striking coin despite its low face value. Because of the high mintage numbers, it was one of the most frequently encountered coins in circulation during the late 1960s, although by then its actual purchasing power was minimal, hardly enough to buy even the cheapest items. The historical context of the 1967 halfpenny reflects Britain's transition into a modern age. The United Kingdom in the 1960s was undergoing immense social, cultural, and political changes. The currency system was also under scrutiny as the old pound, shillings, and pence system, based on 240 pence to a pound, was seen as outdated and impractical in an increasingly globalized world. Decimalization was announced in 1966 with a full transition planned for 1971. This made the 1967 halfpenny one of the last coins of its kind, a remnant of a system that stretched back centuries but was soon to be replaced by a more efficient decimal system. The symbolism of the coin is particularly rich. On the obverse, Mary Gillick's portrait of the young Queen emphasized continuity with the monarchy while avoiding the heavy, formal imagery of crowns. It reflected Britain's attempt to project modernity and relevance in the mid-20th century. On the reverse, the Golden Hind carried powerful national associations: England's age of discovery, naval power, and trade dominance. The fact that such a tiny coin bore the image of a ship that circumnavigated the globe suggests that even the smallest denomination was infused with national pride and imperial heritage. In terms of mintage and availability, the 1967 halfpenny was produced in staggering numbers. Over 146 million coins were struck because the Royal Mint did not issue a 1968 dated halfpenny, making the 1967 issue the final large mintage before withdrawal. The coin is therefore extremely common today and can be found in vast quantities, often in circulated condition. For this reason, it holds little monetary value in the collector's market unless in uncirculated (UNC) or brilliant uncirculated (BU) condition, where the rich red-brown luster of fresh bronze is preserved. The collector's interest in the 1967 halfpenny comes not from rarity but from symbolism. As the last halfpenny before decimalization, it is often kept as a nostalgic souvenir by people who lived through the changeover. It is also an essential coin in any complete pre-decimal collection of Elizabeth II's reign. Coin sets and educational displays about Britain's monetary history frequently include the 1967 halfpenny as a last-of-its-kind specimen. Proof versions were also included in 1967 specimen sets, and these command higher prices today due to their mirror-like surfaces and low mintages. The legacy of the 1967 halfpenny is therefore twofold: as a common everyday coin that saw use in small transactions during the late 1960s, and as the symbolic end of a centuries-long denomination that had existed in various forms since medieval England. After 1969, the halfpenny ceased to be legal tender, and though a new decimal halfpenny, worth 1/200th of a pound, was introduced in 1971, even that coin was withdrawn by 1984 as inflation made such small values impractical. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe my channel for more videos.